Hey, the Portrait here, just a few random thoughts while the time lapse is running. And after, there is a 20 minutes real-time footage from my last workshop with commentary that might be helpful to those of you who are more interested in learning. So I have been on YouTube since close to the beginning, and visual art has always been a relatively very underrepresented category, which I always find strange, considering visual art is so fundamental to human nature, on par with music, yet there is not even a video category for it. There are categories for automobile, traveling, but not art. I have to post my videos under entertainment or film. Are there popular, large art channels? Sure, but they're relatively rare. And for every one of the top art channels, I can give you 1000 average decent-sized channels from other popular categories like makeup or gaming that destroys top art channels in all the numbers and therefore rewards from YouTube. I know YouTube has nothing against art, and most great artists are not good with computers, and combining art with video is still a tricky thing. So ultimately people choose what they want to watch. This is not to discourage people who want to start an art channel or learning how to draw, because art is expanding everywhere and on YouTube. And YouTube itself is still growing like crazy. India alone is going to bring in another like 500 million new active users to YouTube in 2019. And rising tide lifts all ships, right? But there are some things to consider. You guys don't have the luxury I had when I started my channel when everything is still relatively new. My priority for my videos have always been mostly about making visually appealing, combined with music, soothing art videos, and hopefully inspire a few to pick up a pencil along the way. Now I'm thinking I have enough of those. I'm going to insert more and more information into the videos and provide my experience in other ways. Like I just finished my Realism for Beginners tutorial series on Patreon, and I just released the proportion part yesterday thanks to you guys and my patrons. Now this led me to another thought. How and what should an artist or someone who wants to learn and make a living as an artist do today? In this super crazy world where everything is more connected, there are more opportunities but also more competition. In this internet age, I believe there are primarily two routes that allows the typical aspiring artist to make a living with the highest probability to succeed no matter what country they are from, which I will expand on in another video. It is part of the reason I made the tutorial series Realism for Beginners. The first class video is free in my channel, by the way. I made the tutorial because if you don't know the concept in there, which are basic fundamental principle based information, you cannot progress further. I mean, you can get the information elsewhere, no problem, but you need those fundamentals. It's like basketball. If you can't even dribble the ball, you're not even in the game. And so many people just fumble around on their own. And with art, there's probably hundreds and thousands of people doing that. They just copy things that seems impressive without knowing the pros and cons of the practice behind it. And everyone is more or less doing the same thing, so in this environment, how can you stand out and use your time efficiently? Like one example I can think of, people tend to look at large influencers and learn based on what these influencers do, which is fine, except if you are a total beginner and you don't know what you are doing is the right thing. Just because so-and-so have so many followers and makes a living out of art doesn't mean their art style is right for you. There are influencers, I don't count myself as one, who are very good at teaching legitimate material. And there are influencers who have a large following, but their technique might not be right for everyone. I highly recommend you to check out my video, 3 mistakes beginner artists make. And keep an eye out on my future videos, so you probably want to turn that notification bell on. Though I heard even that doesn't guarantee notification anymore, there's just way too much content. And unfortunately most of them are not great for your time that you will never get back. Anyway, random thoughts, I hope some of it made some sense. Okay, so this is the first 20 minutes or so from my last workshop. I hope it provides some insight into my early stage process, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Cheers! Okay, so this morning I did a drawing of this image on my YouTube stream with 2 of my patrons. It was more of a demonstration and a more casual and relaxed session, and now I feel like it's a good time to do a more serious more serious. It is, I'll take my time a little bit more about drawing this portrait. Really, it's the same portrait, same reference image if you were there this morning when I streamed this on my channel. So first I'm just gonna work out the proportion stuff, I'm using my soft blending stump. This side of the hair. I'm not sure why I start with the hair. I really should start with the hairline, eyebrow, bottom of the nose. I'll do that. And I think I won't do the entire drawing on the stream. That'll take too long, especially the fine-tune part. Maybe I'll keep the stream on there. Haven't decided yet. It's just really boring. So this line here is the hairline, and then the face divides into threes. The next one will be the eyebrow, roughly. The image is his head is more tilted. I'm not gonna make his eye exactly level, but I won't tilt as much as the image either. So it's I'm kind of meeting halfway. So that's roughly the line where the eyebrow is. And the third from that is roughly the bottom of the nose. In this case, it's actually pretty accurate. That's almost exactly. And then he has a longer. This, you know, you can use. You know how you can divide the face into thirds. Forehead to the eyebrow, eyebrow to the bottom of the nose. Bottom of the nose to the chin. Each of them is roughly 1/3. But then, you know, as you draw individual portraits, obviously they are going to be different. So in this case, from the bottom of the nose, as we join Zachary Levi, yeah, Levi. This distance between bottom of his nose and to bottom of his chin is slightly longer than, at least from this angle anyway, slightly longer than that, by just a smidget. So maybe roughly around here. Okay. And then some critical points we want to put down. I could continue to do it with my. I'm trying to think. Should I do the mapping of the shadows first, or should I put the critical points down first? I'll do the mapping of the shadows, because that I don't have to worry too much about exact correct position. So now I'm just really looking at the dark parts of the image, roughly where his hair is. Hair you don't have to worry about too much to make it, you know, look exactly like. Just get the general shape down. Unless you join like a supermodel with a very specific hairstyle, then yeah. Generally you have a little bit more playroom with hair. Okay. And the ear should be taking up roughly the middle third of the face, and as you can see from the reference, that's exactly what it is. But it also curves backwards a little bit. We are viewing this character slightly from a below angle, but very, very slightly, so that bottom of the ear, top of the ear, and so as you can see, I'm being a little bit more careful about this right now, and I can concentrate a lot better. The streaming was fun this morning, the stream that I did with Dion and Alex. but I can never quite concentrate as well as if I'm doing something like this. Alright. So I'm just gonna keep using my dirty tortillon to almost like I'm just creating shadows, creating that form. That's what I want to do first before I mark the important spots, like the corners of the eyes and so on. So here you don't have to make things too accurate, but you don't want to make any mistake. Obviously, it's too big either. But you have more room to play around if you make a mistake. Yeah, you can erase, change the positions. The goal is to, if you can view the image, the reference, right? Almost as like a statue. And the goal is really, you got to engage your imagination as you go through this part and feel like create a statue on your paper too, with just light and shadow. You know, no details, just shadows really. Light is taken care of by the natural color of the paper, and feel whether the statue or is the same basically. You can once the form is established, your right brain can get engaged, and you can just start feel things out, whether you are on the right track or not. And it really helps right now if you guys also have the reference image, so you know what I'm talking about. Eye sockets, again, remember, just statue, so just we'll worry about details later. This is very soft charcoal. Well, once the charcoal you're using is soft, it doesn't really matter what paper you use. Okay. And this part, if you complete correctly, you can also start to play around with. After this part, you can start playing around with details, right? And because you have this foundation of a statue, this form, you know you're not going to make any mistake that's too far, assuming that this form is roughly correct. So, if you feel like you want to maybe, establish where the eyes are, put a little bit of more details, at least slightly more detail on roughly where the iris is and so on, feel free to do that. But nothing like eyelash or anything like that. No. Try to keep detail to a minimum. I have my soft blending stump here, blending stump, and I'm actually using a piece of charcoal, compressed charcoal. I'm not sure if you guys can see it. And if it's running out of charcoal, I'll just rub my blending stump against it. Almost like I'm using a brush, in a sense. And it's very soft. Anything that I put on paper right now, I can easily remove with any eraser. And this is part of it's also really helpful for you to train yourself to looking at whatever you're drawing, whether it's a a static reference image or a live model in front of you, and just really just simply focus on the large shapes, the large forms, and then be able to determine whether you are on the right track at any moment. This is also the part, if you really want to save time, is where you want to get the tones correct. If you can get the tones correct in this stage without adding details, it's going to be so fast once you start adding details. Again, if you don't know how to make this, I have a free video on YouTube that shows you how to make this costume blending stump. All you need is some newspaper. Okay, a few of the places that you should always focus on is the corner of the eyes, corner of the nose, and corner of the lips. And notice that I pause sometimes. It's good to. It's better to pause now rather than try to spend time, fix it later. Okay. And I'm just looking at like the shape of. If you have seen my video on triangulation, I'm trying to look at the different geometric shapes between critical points and the vertical, horizontal plumb lines and all that, just to make sure that is correct, and then also try to rely as much as I can, especially as I develop this statue stage, right? Using not just the left brain mechanical side to see where all the proportions are correct, but also the right brain, where you can just look at it and feel whether the proportions are correct. But that early three line of the brow, the nose, and the bottom of the chin, if you get those three correct and can always rely on those three, that would be a huge help. Like for this reference, you can tell it's almost like perfect even from his eyebrow, the middle of his eyebrow. Sometimes people ask me if somebody has like really thick eyebrows, I'll be looking at the top of the center or bottom. You can just look at the middle. From the middle of his eyebrow to the top of his forehead to the bottom of his nose, it's almost like it's almost perfectly 50%, closer to the top of his eyebrow. So this line here is closer to the top of his eyebrow, but it's very close to 50%. So they should be even in length, and the bottom should be slightly longer. All right, looks good so far. And generally when I draw lips, I don't really like to color the bottom part. You can just draw here. This is what I mean. You can draw the top lip, because we just want to create the form, and then draw the shadow below the lower lip. See, notice how the form is created? Alright, just got a message. Alright, let's keep going. Also pay attention to the entire face, especially if you see the face as the entire like a shape. Make sure it's not too skinny or too wide, right? And especially if you draw a person, and if they have any special features that stands out to you, pay extra attention to those, because those are going to help you out a lot, especially when you draw the portrait. And that's why some people are easier to draw than others, because you can rely on those special features. Let's say if I'm drawing like, I don't know, Albert Einstein, right? Like his nose and his like crazy hair, like just those two alone can, if you just make sure that those are done correctly, like it's gonna look like a mad scientist. You know what I mean? Like you always want to make sure, almost like you were thinking like a character artist, but not go that far, obviously. So for this drawing, for Zachary, I would say what make him stand out is that his nose, the structure of his nose is, and his eyebrow. He has a very boyish look in his eyes, so we want to retain that. But that's a little bit more less mechanical and more of, you know, you gotta feel that out. Anything else about him stands out. Even though he's 37, 38 years old, his facial structure is still very boyish. So we just want to keep that in the back of our mind. Okay. And if I pause, I'm just checking. It's like you know, trust me, you want to make any mistakes. Any mistakes you make, you want to make it now. Right now it feels like it's like the width, the height, where the eyes are, and where it connects to the ear, and everything seems to be on track so far. Even though we're doing such a, you know, we're working with such a blurry form, you can still just be able to judge those parts. He has a really dark part here. It doesn't matter if you work with color or black and white. You should always be able to kind of... it's one of the skills to be able to evaluate the value of something rather than the hue, which is color. And bottom of the nose, you can just see it as like a plane, if that makes it easier. And you can see the left side of the nose from our point of view, right? I'm just gonna say, anytime I say something, it's just gonna be from our point of view to avoid any confusion. The left side of the nose, if you go straight up, it meets almost like exactly as the corner of the eye. Little things like that, they're almost, that can help. There's a little bit of, so we're kind of sculpting right now. And notice, if you focus on the shadows, notice there is actually a very distinct line that goes around like his face like this. I'm gonna make it more obvious so you guys can know what I mean. It comes down like this, and exactly it shows the plane of his face. Once I do this and you compare it to the reference image, it's gonna be very, you can be like, oh yeah, that's very obvious now. Where there's a transition that's quiet, clear. And this is very unusual, slightly unusual technique about, you know, using your blending stump to do the coloring. But it's very good for smooth skin, I find. there are actually tools people use, like they have like those special little bags, and they would put charcoal powder in there, and they'll hit the same. It accomplishes the same thing, really.